So as you probably would have guessed, we're eagerly awaiting a new made by Google smartphone, and you know by now that it's the Pixel 9a, but what should you do? Should you wait until it launches before you do anything, like, I don't know, purchase another mid-ranger? Well, I think you should, and here's why. But first, here's why you should subscribe to the 9to5 Google YouTube channel. Firstly, I think we make solid stuff. Secondly, I'm just hoping that you're cool and you might do so. Go ahead, be a legend, and join the movement. So Google has yet to officially tell the world when the Pixel 9a will be unveiled. There is unlikely to be a huge fanfare around this launch in general though, especially as per rumours, it's going to fall before I/O in late May 2025, which has usually provided the launch pad for previous generations of the A series, and using the Pixel 9 and previous A series launches as a yardstick, we're waiting and expecting some AI functions that are currently exclusive to the 9 series to potentially make the jump down to this more affordable handset. No leaks have been able to confirm any of our suspicions, at least at this point, but we're hopeful that some functions like Pixel Screenshots, Pixel Weather, and even the Reimagine function will come to this Pixel A series device. Another notable is going to be the switch to a boxier design from the previous bubbly designs that we've had on Pixel phones. However, I think there's going to be a spin here, or at least we know there's going to be a spin here on the camera bar itself. Hands-on leaked videos have showcased a return to a flat backplate, and renders have shown that as well. That means the camera cutout is effectively going to sit flush with that rear panel, which is quite a big change. There is a glossy ring around the camera cutout, so the Pixel 9a will retain some of the 9 series design language without that key camera hallmark, and I'm a little bit disappointed here, I must admit. Is expected to weigh just over 2 grams less than the Pixel 8a despite some chassis changes. We'd expect it to utilise plastic or polycarbonate like on previous generations, but it simultaneously feels out of place, but part of the lineup at the same time. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing at this stage. It could help separate the affordable entry from the premium phones, but it does look cheap, or at least cheaper when we expected, or despite some changes, expected some of these things to at least be omitted to hit the previous price point that we've seen on previous generations. You're probably wondering what the core specifications are here if you didn't already know them. These are a by the numbers affair once again. That said, it's going to be a solid spec sheet for a Pixel phone period. The device will come with a Tensor G4 processor, 8GB of RAM, 128 or 256GB of UFS 3.1 storage, the slightly older storage variant, plus a bigger 5100 mAh battery inside. All other Pixel 9 models do though come with 12GB of RAM if you didn't know that already, and that accounts for some of the AI functions, so it will be interesting to see what's omitted here, if anything, from the software stack as a result of having less RAM on board. Another interesting change to the device is that its dimensions are increasing to 154.7 by 73.3 by 8.9mm. I know that's a mouthful, and it is interesting to note because it's slightly bigger than the Pixel 8a, and it also means that we're going to get a 6.3 or thereabout 6.3 inch display this time around. I think that's a big increase despite some of those fairly minor chassis changes over the 8a, all while the display is going to have bezels that remain much larger than on the Pixel 9, which on the Pixel 9 compared to the 9 Pro are a substantial leap. The display will still, or at least we're hoping it's going to be best in class with a 120Hz refresh rate OLED, 1080p resolution, and a supposed 2700 nit max brightness when viewing HDR content. One of the biggest downsides I think though is the proposed reuse of Gorilla Glass 3 for screen protection, so I would say a screen protector is going to be one of those things. It's almost going to feel like a necessity with the Pixel 9a this year once again. Another downgrade is potentially the lack of an ultrasonic in-display fingerprint scanner from Qualcomm. According to some of these early leaks, an optical scanner from GoodX is going to be used. This would make sense if costs do need to be cut, and there is another area where we're going to see some cost cutting here. Charging will jump up to 23 watts via USB-C, which is still slow, but it's on par with the regular Pixel 9, but it will remain at 7.5 watts with a Qi charger, or the Pixel stand if you do have that. This does though mean that you'll need to wait longer for the Pixel 9a to charge than many other phones, especially as it has a 5100 mAh battery, and that does pale in comparison to some of the other phones out there with faster charging and even larger batteries. What's more though, and this is good news, the IP rating is supposedly getting a bump from IP67 to IP68, which does mean you're going to be safe in more environments with the Pixel 9a, and it is a welcome change. And it doesn't necessarily make all that much difference to some people out there, but I think it's notable nonetheless. So while the camera bar is getting cut effectively, or at least trimmed down, the Pixel 9a camera system could provide some more upgrades here, which again, I think are notable. This is one of the major reasons you might want to wait for the Pixel 9a to launch before deciding which handset you do pick if you have your eye on one currently. So Google is set to upgrade the main sensor, which is supposedly going to utilize the new 48 megapixel GN8 sensor from Samsung. That replaces the Sony IMX787, which has been used from the 7a and the 8a. It'll be paired with yet another 13 megapixel ultrawide. The details on that ultrawide are scarce, at least at this stage, but we're expecting it to be the same sensor as the 8a, or at least you'd expect it to be from this point in time. There's only one other thing to note here though with the Pixel 9a. The Tensor G4 chip packed inside is supposedly going to have a slightly different modem to the actual main 9 series. Rumours from late 2024 suggested that it would use the Exynos 5300 over the 5400, so it's a slight step down, but that might not be true once we get the devices in the coming months, and it's one of those things that may not make a difference to you, as it just means theoretical outputs and downloads, uploads, that kind of thing. It's going to be slightly lower than the Pixel 9 series, and it's one of those things you could probably forgive so long as the signal is strong. So a question people have been asking me recently though is, what about the Pixel 8a if you are looking for a cheap phone? I think if you need a cheap phone right now and it has to be a Pixel, you do have a couple of choices. As a note, firstly, there is a Pixel 8a, but the Pixel 9 has been discounted quite a bit and might even be cheaper than the 9a when the A series phone does officially arrive. There is another option. As a note, it isn't clear if the 8a is going to hang around this time, especially though based upon Google's previous affinity for keeping previous generations around. I personally think it might be a device that is held in the lineup and is offered at a substantially discounted rate. I do think the Pixel 8a is a good phone, but it, like a lot of A series of the past few years, it's encroached a little bit too much on the base series, in this case the Pixel 8. It is still going to be supported though for a further 6 years, and it often dips below $300 quite regularly. You'll have to wait a long time before the Pixel 9a is able to reach those lows from launch. So if you are looking for a cheap phone right now to tide you over, the Pixel 8a might be a choice, unless you can get the Pixel 9 at a substantial discount. Coming back to the crux of this video, should you buy now or wait for the Pixel 9a? And to be clear, this is more of a PSA for anyone who's mulling over a new phone, be that from Samsung, be that from Oppo, whoever it is, period, basically. If you're looking for a new phone and you want to get the best value possible when picking one up, be that used, refurbished, or whatever, the smartphone industry tends to just shift in shape based upon the current crop of hardware or the next release, and the latest and greatest will always take precedence, especially in carrier stores and retail stores and online stores for that matter. The Pixel 9a is absolutely no different. It will arrive and it will instantly, or at least will instantly see a shift from retailers and OEMs as they adjust their pricing strategy to account for this new player in the market, specifically in the mid-range. The proposed pricing sits at around $499 or €499 for that 128GB model, which will be the default, and $599 or €599 for the 256GB variant, at least based upon the information we currently have. If other OEMs want to stay in the public consciousness, expect prices of similar mid-range phones or even prices of phones at this point to adjust to compete more directly. Incentives and free gifts also make things a little bit more enticing, or they'll hope to, before the Pixel 9a launch. So in essence, even if you have zero interest in the Pixel 9 or the 9a, I think it's sensible to wait until the mid-ranger arrives to get a better deal on the phone you want, provided it isn't a non-Google flagship. Other phones will get discounted, that's pretty much par for the course. New phones though will offer something different, so if you wait, I think it's a win-win. So yes, if you are looking for a phone, wait a little bit longer, hopefully a few more weeks, and then you'll get a little bit more later down the line. At least that's my rationale anyway. Are you thinking we're right? Are you thinking we're wrong? Are we stupid? Are we insane? Let me know down in the comment sections below. Hopefully you found this interesting. You've got a little bit more information about a device that is coming later down the line. But until next time, I will speak to you later.